Hello and welcome to another session of Vergence. Vergence is a forged in the dark game that borrows from Amber, from Kill 6 Billion Demons, from the Eternal Champion, all of these kinds of things. Though it takes an interesting tact, broadens out the Amber set of sort of two poles and adds in three forces that aren't like tied to necessarily order or chaos, but are operating in their own way. It's a really smart setup for gameplay for something like this. My name is Lowell. My pronouns are he, him. This game is still in development. You can find it on itch, and it is a Forged in the Dark game. This game is part of the Gauntlet gaming calendar, which is our online gaming club / community. And you can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. We just had our open gaming weekend a couple weeks ago. That went very well. We'll probably have another one coming up here in March. That's sort of what we're looking at right now. I know that there are other online cons that are trying to figure out where they're going to be. So we want to make sure that we are spread away from them because we were too close to Origins and Gen Con. We did okay, but we were too close to some biggies and people were a little burnt out. We left off last time with our group having gotten some successes. And let's go and look at the Dark Conspiracy tab and the advancement things. You've got, I believe we said 4 upgrades, 4 points worth of upgrades. Now, some things cost 1 to upgrade. Some things cost more. If we look at the training upgrades on the Dark Conspiracy tab, like Empowered and Hardened, those cost 3 upgrades, while the Insight and Prowess one cost 4 upgrades. Now, here is the thing, is this is a decision that is kind of made by the group, because those things do affect everyone in the group. So it is a conversation that we need to have about what people think they would like. You could bank them, or you could spend some of them. We also have the Alliance upgrades there. It also is an upgrade to increase the quality or scope of one of your contingents. That's also another possibility. So we kind of left off just sort of generally talking about that last time. Anyone have strong feelings right now about what you might want for that? Special abilities are nice, especially if you've got some cool stuff. And you could certainly have, then you could pick an Alliance upgrade on top of that. On the other hand, getting a dot in abilities is pretty nice given the way this game shakes out.
I would pitch the special ability. I'm not wedded to anything, so no enormous strong feelings, but I might pitch the special ability now, because considering how much time we have left, if we want a chance to use another special ability, this might be that opportunity to get it. Just because, assuming we get a chance to get up to 3 again, I don't know if we'll do it this time. Probably would be next, and then you'd only have that special ability to play with 1 session. But again, I'm not over wedded. I like about all of them.
And do the conspiracy special abilities just cost 1 upgrade?
At the Alliance upgrades, the things that say special abilities, which is a terrible name for them because we also say special abilities and other things. Yep. The conspiracy special abilities, the Alliance upgrades, and the resource upgrades all cost 1.
Gotcha.
So you could take the Empowered, which would give everybody another pick off of their playbook, and then take an upgrade from one of those 3 sets of things. People, what do you think of that?
I like getting another special ability.
Yeah.
So let's mark that. So take empowered. So go ahead and look at your playbook and select the special ability that you want. And then we'll talk about whether you want to take an upgrade or if you want to save that up to add into whatever happens tonight. But I'm going to give you a minute to take a look through.
I totally want to take Slain. Ah, such a good one.
What is slain?
You've been dead before. It's not so bad. Reduce penalties from harm by 1 level, though level 4 harm is still fatal. If you die, you can choose to return at some point in a later scene with all of your stress restored and injuries healed, but with a level 3 harm disconnected. Also, you will have changed, swap one special ability for another you have access to it, and make a change to your look.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know that it's so that useful. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
If we were playing a longer term, I might do that because it'd be an awesome shtick. Let's see.
Don't forget, you can also take veteran moves if you want to draw from one of the other playbooks. I can unhide those if people would like. Actually, what I've done is I've unhidden the data page that has the playbook moves for all of the different groups in case you want to look through if nothing appeals to you from your thing and you want to take a veteran move.
I'm going with imitate, so it's still the shapeshifter thing. So then I
Okay.
can just take other forms. And as a long-term project, I can get people's memories and mannerisms and stuff like that, as long as I have their blood to drink, which is a pretty interesting add to that.
Ooh, I like that. Gain defense against any consequence of transition or discovery. That's nice. Tyler, what are you thinking? I see you frowning.
Looking a little at Hunter at the moment. It's pretty cool. Lets me track and or trail people and set up ambushes and that sort of thing.
That's nice. So one thing we haven't done in the game so far that I'll mention, because it's a mechanic that sometimes gets forgotten, especially when we're in the heat of things, is don't forget that you can always flash back to preparations. Meaning spending stress to say that you have something set up to change the fiction or essentially make a roll on an action to do something ahead of time.
Yeah, for the one upgrade we have left, I would I guess lean to either saving it, or the thing that I'm looking at is the blocked base, the entry, exit, and communication to and from your base is blocked to anyone you don't give permission to. If we want to keep our Renaissance world with skyships safe.
It's neat, and that communication part is really neat. I went with another move from the Stormcaller. I picked up Stormcaller.
Yeah.
Which is I can conjure up storms, small up to insane given time.
So I imagine that we probably saw you in that last scene as you all were heading out of that world as it faded away, starting to make contact with the storms that were racking it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, look at
I
you
think
all with
there's
all
like
that stress.
lightning strikes that are drawn towards the ship as we're flying out, and sort of like crackle along the system to keep them from getting us, but it lights up his eyes.
Nice. Sans Echo, what are you thinking?
That Slain really looks good to me. I don't know why. It's so crazy.
Allows you, I mean, that level 1 harm does, it
Yeah.
allows you to take the level 2 harm and then it does nothing,
Mhm,
so you get essentially 2 extra harm boxes that you don't have to worry about.
exactly. Yeah. And then how do we get rid of harm? Do we have to take action at our downtime?
Well, let us look. We can move to some phases now. Right now, we would move to one of the other phases, which would be either I'm assuming, a full healing, which essentially allows you to heal and everybody recover all their stress and all that stuff. But the bad guy's clock, which already has a tick on it, clicks forward 1 more. And the other option is the scheming phase, where you automatically heal 4 stress. And then you can, as an action, take a healing action to recover from damage in that.
Yeah,
Okay.
scheming phase is cool.
Yeah, I think scheming phase is the best one
Okay, let me get to those rules again.
because scheming is fun.
It is. Flashbacks, practice books. Okay, scheming activities. All right. So let's assume that you're going to do a scheming phase. We'll frame that up as the group of you having returned back to your base. Does that seem reasonable? Back to your home world. Everyone will recover 4 stress. Look at that, automatically 4 stress. And because it is a scheming phase, we click that. We're also going to generate some more favor. So you're going to generate 3 more favor from the Storm Knights and 3 more favor from the Wake Riders. And favor, don't forget, to be spent to give yourself a die, but it can also be spent to click clock segments forward.
Wait, we're not allied with the Storm Knights. We're allied with Anastasia's rebellion, I thought.
That's right. Thank you. Let me move those up 1 row. All right. So Sherry, would you like to heal? Would you like to earn favor? Would you like to form an alliance? Would you like to manage cohorts, or would you like to do a long-term project?
Oof. Let's see here. I just have like this goofy level 1 harm, which seems like it ought to go away on its own, but okay.
It does,
Um,
and yet,
It won't, huh? So it just takes a place up.
yep.
Oh, well. Then I guess,
So would you like to do something else then? Keep that
Yes.
stress and
yeah, keep the stress. So let's see here. I could get us more friends, or is there another way that I can generate dice for later?
like a long-term project, maybe? Is there something you want to work on to prepare?
Well, what we learned last time, we'll just go through that. We went to the monastery where there were these old monks that had like strange umbral powers or whatever, right? But they usually only used them for self-defense. But when we got there, we found out that they had already been taken over and unwoven and rewoven by the loom. which is one of the reasons why the symbols were on the loom that we found,
Mhm.
and that's essentially what we're doing, right?
And that like one of the senior monks there,
Mhm.
along with the was mentioned, of course, the god Noralam, were part of those that had essentially destroyed that temple, that world, and left it as a trap.
Yeah, like a disciple that had left and come back and did that, right?
Yeah.
So like last disciple or something. So I think that it makes sense that I do something that tells me where they're going to strike next. If that makes any sense, unless we found
Absolutely.
something that gave us a thing.
So I will say that we can kind of do that in the role play phase, because you can gather information in the role play phase.
Okay.
Like in the free play phase, you don't have to do a long-term project for that. So
Oh,
is there something else you want to do, like as a permanent thing you're going to build? Or the other thing you mentioned, getting more dice, gaining favor is a way of getting dice for yourselves later.
all right. Well, let's see here. The Corned Monastery, we know, were they allied with anyone or like protected by anyone? Where, like, whose demesnes were they in? Were they Maelstrom? Were they, does that make any sense?
They were their own thing. They weren't associated with any of the three Vergences.
So they would be like me, like from the void, just,
Yes, before they were destroyed in this, they would have been like you.
all right. Is the construct something from the void?
The construct is a great sort of ethereal computer that is said to be out there mysteriously doing its own plans. You could reach out to it to try and make contact with it.
Sure. I am Sans Echo, so yes, I can reach out to the construct. So
So what do you think is the appropriate skill for doing that?
Suede, my
Okay,
mathematics is excellent.
absolutely. So let's have you roll.
All right. 3 dice. That will be okay, right? Just got to find the dex thing again. And well, that's right. We have the nice grouped ones. All right. So here we go. I'm going to roll these top 3. Well, not horrible. 2 4s, so definitely a success, just not 100%ers.
So you will get 2 favor towards the construct.
Okay. And like the construct, what does it? What's its power scope thing? So that we know how much we would need before we could make it an ally.
Quality 1, but its actual reach is 4. Its scope is 4.
Oh, interesting.
It is everywhere, but doesn't have a great deal of power that it can bring to bear at any particular point.
Interesting, but it's everywhere, which is
So
excellent for communication, right?
So tell me, how is it that you think? Let's look at the scene here. How is it that you reach out to this dimensional computer?
So people know about it, so they know where it does reach out, where it touches and affects things. And I really do think that it's about her going to a known thing that it affects and extrapolating, like essentially solving the simultaneous equations in order to step into the same space and essentially communicate with it.
And when you make that jaunt, find that place, and you do that, it is another kind of reaching. It's not a vertices power, but it's something else that in some ways reminds you of what's going on with the weave and the loom.
That's why I was interested in this.
But you will shift to a slightly different space, and there's a figure that is a color palette swapped version of you.
Excellent.
That is there, and it will say, what is it that an oracle, a tiny little thing like yourself, has come to me for?
And I'll say, let me show you what has been unmade. And again, I will use my threaded wound as an advantage for explanation. And I will say, they started to unweave me. And I will name the god and the disciple. And I say, their intent is to travel throughout and to unweave everything and then make it to serve them. Do you wish to serve them?
They have been slicing away bits of my processes, bits of my computations. So I do not wish to bow before them.
Nor do I, nor do we. These are my allies, and I will name my closest allies, and I will name the factions. They are not as big as we will need them to be, but they are a start.
I will lend you my aid, some of my strength as best I can. Dread red guile. Look to what he was seeking.
Sounds good. Much appreciated. I may come to speak to you again as I know more. Thank you for your hospitality.
And he will vanish.
And she does too, just by the nature of the fact that it's vanishing.
True. Let's come to negative.
Okay, for my scheming phase, I'm gonna go with the healing, so remove all my stress and my level 1 harm.
Yes.
And I think that we also reset our assist boxes.
Yes, you do.
Okay, all right. And for my scheming phase, I think it's going to be representative of him hanging out on the ship or going back to Bella Vita and throwing one of his famous salons. The next morning, you'll find him, asleep out in the ship's galley, nursing a hangover. And I think he'll tell each of the other of the shipmates, if you see a bald man around here who likes to call himself Morden Canaan, just don't tell him where I went.
All right. We'll watch you carefully. You have a certain reputation. What about you, Smiles?
I'm doing Borgol healing myself.
Oh, Look at that. So yeah, you'll clear all your level 1 harm.
So it clears all level 1.
All your level 1 harm.
Oh, nice. Good. That's what I wanted. Oh, and gets rid of my stress.
Well, it doesn't get rid of your stress.
Is it not?
You would recover 4 for the scheming phase. Healing is healing your wounds, and then there's another one if you want to clear all the rest of your stress.
Actually, I think it's listed. It's heal all wounds and all stress, or not all wounds, but like.
Oh no, you're
Harm,
right.
harm,
I'm
and
sorry.
restore all stress.
I
yeah.
apologize. They've got it to the headers here are a little confusing to me. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, you recover all your stress. I apologize.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
And Bash.
Oh, weird. They have a roll for healing too.
Yeah, but if you roll a 1 to 3, then you heal all your level 1 harm.
Oh, yep. Fair. So I also am going to heal, but I plan for it to not be quite so boring. Because if it's all right with people, I would like to. It was the Wake Riders. It was Fortrum Greyrat that was helping me study the loom, wasn't
Mhm.
it? Yeah. Can I spend 2 of our favor with them to finish out that long-term project while I'm healing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have a healer on my crew, I think, Ward, who's an aquatic humanoid from some very strange corner of the Umbra, who does like really high level healing with like different colors of back to tanks. Basically, like there's all these different liquids that you have to submerge in and let them soak through into your weird metaphysical parts that he has names for, and I'm pretty sure aren't real. But I think while I'm going from like colored bath to colored bath, Fortrum just gets like fed up and bored with all of the wasted time and go start to like take apart the loom and look at the internal structures and stuff.
And what is it you want? Do you want information? Do you want a tool? What is it that you desire, Bash, from this project?
I mean, I'd like a little more understanding of what's happening. We only have the very like basic idea of what that it's unweaving and what that sort of looks like. But I think in the end, like he wants to be able to use it in some way, whether it's an advantage for us or a way to undo what's been done or a way to fight against them. Like he wants to be able to operate it in some way for our benefit.
So which is more important to you? Understanding it or using it as a tool?
I think with the panic that's still sort of there from what happened with the monastery, I think a tool.
So it definitely can be used to splice and modify and disrupt the power of any of the 3 Vergences. It is a weapon against all 3 of them. It operates at a different kind of base, dimensionally atomic level. And you could certainly use this to disrupt or destroy the workings of a particular Vergence.
Can it, does it go more focused than that? Like, is it the whole Vergence or nothing, or could it affect smaller areas or
That'd
things?
depend on your role, wouldn't it?
Gotcha.
I think you believe you could get it to work precisely.
That's, well, I mean, and that's all really any of this is. It's just confidence and moving forward.
Absolutely. Uh,
But at the
yeah.
end of that, Bash is like washing the purple out of his hair and feels much better and walks into this long rambling explanation, I think, from Fortrim about all the things that he's found along the way.
It's like, this is, whoever is doing this, they have a purpose to this. And I suspect that what was done, the attacks and so on, were meant to sow disruption, to hide a true intent elsewhere. So let's do a scene of the four of you, let's discussing what comes next. Again, we come back to your base, to the rooms that you have there, well appointed. I think out in the distance in the plaza, we can hear the sound of music. We can hear people laughing and partying, and the sort of the sweet smell of perfumes here. But we see the four of you talking about where you go from here. And when we do come to that, let's start with you, Sanseko. What are you saying?
She stops and she goes, so whether by intent or not, it is also interrupting and slicing away the work of the construct to has slight touches all over the place. So in some ways that makes sense. It may not be as intentional. But I think that we're going to have to figure out what they're really trying to do. There has to be some starting point, or I guess I should say, some turning point that they're aiming for. And I think she'll look at Bash and say, what have you found out about the loom?
Well, it's not too surprising, but I did confirm it's behind what we've been seeing. It feeds off, converts the vergic energy of a particular plane until there's nothing left to hold all of the possibilities together, and they start to fray naturally on their own. I
Create
think
a
I
new
could
vergence.
And what?
Does it create a new vergence, or does it just destroy an old known vergence? Can it destroy any coalition of, what do you say, of power, of shaping that the vergence is, that is the role they fill?
The full extent of it would take more experimentation. With the notes that I have, I know it'll definitely work against anything powered off of the main three vergences. It seems pretty broad scale. It seems a sort of all or nothing as far as I've understood its workings. Maybe we could focus it down with the right calculations on a particular world to something smaller, but it's a world killer at the moment.
Bash, have you the one that we have here? Was it specifically designed for the world we found it on, or could it have been, say, picked up and placed somewhere else, and this same one would work there as well?
It was carefully calibrated to that world, but I think the mechanisms can be readjusted for many different places.
We may have gained some time if they were intending to cart this one from world to world, but then again, perhaps they have the ability to simply make them for each world they wish to unwind.
Well, at the very least, we know they have two because the monastery was unwoven while we were studying this one.
Was it?
Well, I don't know the precise timeline. I'm just assuming it could have been unwoven well before and we just set it off.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose we don't really know if that unwinding we encountered was just the Lowell. We had been told
Sure.
that that world had already kind of gone off when we went by to check it out, right?
Which world?
Where the monastery. No, we
No.
hadn't.
It was a different
No,
one.
It's a different
you decide you had a choice between going to the place where the world had been destroyed and checking that out, or going to the place with the monastery. You went to the place with the monastery and got there and then encountered the trap of it.
Right. And then it unwove itself.
Yeah.
Or it unwove. So we don't know if there was actually a loom there they were working when we got there that did it, or if it was set up to unwind when we triggered it. Okay. In your studies, do you think it could be much like a jumper? If you pull the thread, it'll unwind. Was it set up so that when we got there, we pulled the last thread?
I don't know enough about how this works to know how long a world could sit drained like that, but not fray apart from entropy.
Well, there were rewoven people waiting there and holding it together. So it's not that it was recreated. And that unbaking was almost like an explosion or a trap, wasn't it? That occurred? Well, didn't that feel that way?
It was a pretty sudden fall apart once you kind of had gotten in and were interacting. And your sense of it was clearly trying to draw you all deeper in before everything went apart, before it frayed at the edges.
Okay.
So
maybe we want to do a round of free play investigation. People go talk to their sources, do those things, get information. Does that seem like a reasonable thing to do?
Sure.
So this kind of thing we'll do as because you are interacting with things, we'll say you guys have access to a lot of information. I'm going to put this as risky, great effect, because you have your resources and so on, you're putting them to bear. You have those connections, but it is risky because certainly might tick the clock forward on things, or it might cause problems down the line. So let's start with negative, since we haven't heard from you for a bit. Let's start with you. After you've recovered from Miss Salon, after this discussion, what is it that you want to know? What is it you want to look into?
Okay, well, my brother has been acting pretty strange from the one time from the first session. They said that he's been traveling all over into the Umbra, and him being the responsible son, thinking maybe he's doing either my father's bidding or something different. So I guess I'll contact my father, even though we're not on good terms, just to see if he knows that if he's been sending Dread Red Guile out for any reason. because people have been talking, and of course, father would not like people to be talking about the family.
All right. Then let us. What do you think is the appropriate role for gathering this information?
Oh, that the easy one would be persuade, but with his relationship with him, it might be command, or I mean, or something like that. It's the only way that Troll Brown would, like, interact with him on an equal level.
Let's go with persuade, just because it gives you a die
Okay.
as opposed to 0 dice. So let's start with that. And your father is, of course, not entirely enamored to see you, but at the same time, recognizes you, and he will greet you, and he will say, "It is unusual for you to call upon me."
Yeah, I was gonna call for a flashback, actually.
Sure.
Real quick before I got there.
Absolutely.
I wanted to call on our faction in the Serpent, the Wake Riders. And if it's okay with everybody, spend 2 favor from them to gain a die on this roll. And you tell me how much stress the
I
flashback
think
would take.
because they're already your allies, I think a flashback on that would be 0. I
Okay.
think that's no stress to do that.
And is it okay with everybody if I spend the favor?
Then let's have you roll 2d6.
Okay. Let's see here. Be the first 2. Hey, a 6.
A 6. He will say, "What is it you've come here for?" He seems more accommodating than he usually is.
Well, I guess news might have reached you that I've actually, been trying to mend my ways and such, but
No, I hadn't heard that.
well, it's happening.
Really?
Yes. And I guess I'm trying to look for more responsibility. But speaking of responsibility,
I smell the shift. Go on.
yes, your son has been out and about, and I was just wondering if he's on your business or if he's actually off and has a secret of his own. I mean, I've heard tale that he's been traveling into the deep umbra, close to the void, I think.
I have not heard from your brother in some time.
Don't you find that to be unusual?
I do, and worrisome as well.
Well,
I set him to a task, and he has been looking into it, but I lost contact with him. And then soon after, there were the various attacks. I have agents scouring about to find him on the paths that I sent him on, but I've not heard anything back yet.
well, then let me play the dutiful son role at least once in my life. I'll make it my business to try and find him. But in the meantime, would you mind sharing what task you set him on?
I set him to follow, to study someone.
I'm guessing it's somebody powerful.
The dominus of the Storm Knights. Morgaine.
Uh, that's interesting. I think I have friends in the Maelstrom. I might pay them a visit. And who knows, I might even bring Dread Red Guile back here for you.
Be cautious.
Caution? I'm the most cautious person I know.
Be cautious. It would pain me to lose both of my sons.
Well, I'll make sure you get at least one back.
That would be good and responsible.
Leave it on that.
Yeah. Smiles, what do you want to look into?
All right. We sent our recon agent off to try and track down my brother, and she disappeared.
Yes.
So I have to, well, my logical thought is that she got too close. So finding out about where she was will give us an idea of where iridescence might be, or at least where agents against us managed to waylay her.
That seems reasonable.
Okay.
What do you think is the appropriate role for this?
Okay, I'm gonna tell the crew. If you'll excuse me, I'll be back shortly, and I will mount up on Timber and say we're going to be flashing very quickly through worlds, but it should be no problem for us, Soul Girl. And I'm going to just begin at jumping, trying to follow that trail, hitting each spot to catch my, people that I have there, my network. Did you see her? Did you see her? And just trying to, as quickly as possible, move through, trying to, hell right. Trying to, as rapidly as possible, without alerting whoever may be looking for us.
So that feels like traverse with the extra die for
With
your
the extra drive from
hunter
my
build.
hunter.
Okay.
That is my hope. And if I'm using the network, it will take the result up by 1.
Okay.
So that gives me 3 dices. Do I wish to do anything else? That's a lot of dices, but I could use more. I'm going to push myself for this. This seems like importance.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So here's my 4 dice. Come on, baby. Ugh, a 5.
So I think your path will lead you to 2 trails that split. So this is reduced information is essentially the consequence here.
Okay.
Can he
Now
resist it?
you may give me a second. You can resist that effect if you want.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and resist.
Okay. Then just go ahead and what is so you did this with that. So go ahead and
Prowess roll.
yeah, roll 2d6 for prowess there.
Okay. So I'll roll the 2 that are left under me. Oh, I only roll 1, but it was a 6. No, they both rolled 5 and 6.
5 and 6. So I think
Lose 1, gain 1 stress.
It'll just take 1 stress for that.
Yeah. All right.
Let me check one thing here. Yeah, just one stress. The paths will lead to two places, but you'll know why they lead to these two different places. One will lead to a world that is called Bewail. And this is a world that you remember her speaking of in the past, and that you remember as being like everybody who's been around for enough time has a world that they've invested in, that they've gone to, that they fall back to. They often don't tell other people about that because that's kind of a private thing. But you remember her mentioning it. It's kind of a French court world where there's no steel, but there is worked crystal and such. And so everything that would be made of metal is made out of this crystal and gems and so on. And it has a host of humanoid animal folk as well.
Okay.
And so there's a trace, like, you know, that the trail leads there, but you actually suspect that, not unlike the taste that you've gotten before, that trail may be of a woven version of Morgaine, a duplicate. Now, you've had that taste before with your father, with that trail that you followed. The other place that this leads to is a place that you've heard about that moves amongst the worlds, a place where broken members of the Vergences and fallen out people and those who have skills and talents go to, a world that shifts around in the Umbra. It is a wretched hive of scum and villainy called a cynosure. It is a place, a dangerous place you go to if you want to hide or if you want to find things, and is a place where nobles from among the Vergences are not particularly welcome. Like, you don't want to reveal your powers if you go there, because there are a lot of old enemies and things like that. People who've been deposed and stripped of powers, those kinds of people make their way to that place.
Okay.
Does that sound like fair information?
Yes, that seems good.
Okay. Bash.
I think I want to send my crew with the Emerald Repose to go investigate that unworld that we didn't investigate on the way to the monastery.
All right. Hang on one second. You know, I think I got something mixed up there, Smiles. You were pursuing in that investigation, Smiles, who were you pursuing?
The recon agent, because I figured they would have, because they were going after iridescence, but you know, it was her. Is that not what we were? What you gave
No,
me?
I wanted to I need to recon. I need to retcon back to something because I made a mistake there.
Already.
What you would have found, that is what you would find, but you would find that rather than trailing iridescence, that your agent found themselves on a weird like crossing trail with Anastasia. Now, Anastasia, I'm sorry, I got so many names here. And we've got a lot of similar names with Morgaine, Vash's sister. And when she found that trail, that's what she started to follow. Led off into those two places, that split, this world that Morgaine has, and Sinisher. And at some point in investigating those two things, finding this Morgaine who'd been woven.
So it is Morgaine who I get the
Yes.
sense has been
Yeah.
turned into as a woven.
Yeah. And at some point your agent vanished in the midst of that.
Perhaps over at the Hive of Scum and Villainy.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've got so many NPCs.
That's quite all right. Okay. So she stopped going after iridescence at one point, tracking after Morgaine, perhaps thinking Morgaine was on iridescence's trail, or for whatever reason she decided to do it. And I reached this point where she sees the split, and then I don't know where the recon went.
Right.
Okay.
Bash.
Hello.
Hello. What do you think is appropriate for your ship going into this place?
You mean like for rolls?
Yeah.
Oh, my
If you
crew
wanna
has
use
a
a
quality
qual-
of 2.
Then let's have them roll.
Yeah. If they don't have any particular specialties. Yeah. No. Also the other die. Yep. There we go. Okay. Top 2 reds. Force.
So the consequence I'm going to suggest is ticking the plot clock forward for your adversary.
I think that makes sense. Which theoretically, is that something I could resist, or is that outside of that
Absolutely. It's a
realm?
consequence. You can always resist a consequence.
Okay. No, I think it's appropriate for this, especially their first mission off alone, sort of thing. Like they draw some attention.
They will return. Who is the captain when you're not aboard the ship?
I think it's Shiver, the navigator.
They will come back and they look disturbed, and they will sit down with you and they will say, we went to the place where the world was destroyed, and at first it seemed that it was gone, a gap. We've seen those before. Worlds have been destroyed and magical accidents, things like that. But there was something about the nature of the place, nature of the void that was there, that suggested that there was something hidden. And when we pushed forward further, we found that there was a world there, hidden away. And we went there, and it was an echo, a copy of the world that had been there.
One of the woven constructs?
Yes, but not like that fragment that we saw that wove apart, I mean, it was a slice, a small place. This was a world made. And I've been around you and the children of the serpent, and even the Korgos, those people. I know what the Vergences smell like. This was something different, something made. And we could see evidence. I know you and your brethren have a great amount of power. You have a great amount of power. The shapeshifter can do many great, wondrous things. The others can. But I also know that when we travel to a world, we are subject to the rules of that world. And your powers act within it. Whoever made this world was then able to impose their will on it, reshape it. There was evidence, wreckage left behind that they had played with this world, that they had tested their powers there.
That's not how Umbral walking works, though.
It is not. Once I realized that this was a world that there was someone there, like a god, effectively, that could reshape that world in a way that even the gods that we've met couldn't do, we left as quickly as we could.
Could you tell, was it similar to or a copy of the world that was there before, or was it something new?
I think it was a copy, and then someone played with the copy.
Fascinating. Half of that is just straight up impossible by any understanding of Verging magic.
Well, I have no understanding of it, so it's well outside my ken, Captain.
Interesting. Write up any further details you can think of, and your experience navigating into and out of that world. How it felt to cross the final boundary.
I will say it was harder getting out than it was getting in.
Makes sense. Unfamiliar rules. Could it be some sort of like micro-vergence?
Don't know.
Huh. And the ship came through it all right.
Ships came through. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. I knew I could trust you.
Absolutely. Sans Echo.
Yeah. So I know I need to find Dreadguile. This has been made clear. I think there's also this thing about the orb cleric who was arranging a ritual that was something to keep like the main traveling thing clear. I calculate through the intersections of what I know of Dreadguile's paths, and that essentially that ritual, that what that would have, that undertaking would have required. Where do I find something that brings those two together?
Interesting. What do you think is the appropriate skill, ability,
Fine
dot
question.
that you want to use for this?
Yeah, because unless it's persuade, it's a dot, isn't it? So
But you've got friends, you've got
I do.
allies.
I have lots of friends.
You also have your network or your contacts. Like,
Yes.
do they provide you anything in this?
Oh, sure, because they certainly have magic, and they are sort of more associated with the orb than the others. So if I have the orb and the serpent, and the third is the maelstrom.
Yes.
Okay. And let's see here. Let me see here. Which are you from Maelstrom Forces, Bash? Okay. Then, and I've spoken to your mother and all of that. So that gives me, yeah, I'm gonna like use those three to triangulate, to triangulate something significant, if that makes any sense. So I want something that's more like a calculation or traverse or one of those
Okay.
kind of
Well,
idea. So I'm hitting all the tabs except my own character sheet, which
Fair
is
enough.
annoying me. So let's see here. I do. Contrive, I think perhaps, is to contrive a new calculation method of significance.
okay.
Essentially, at this point, again, I come from a mathematical of sorts, philosophical mathematics, or mathematics philosophy, I don't know, background. And so I think this is what it is I am contriving a way to triangulate some significance.
I like it.
And so I think I will use, let me see what we've got for favor and those sorts of things. I can at least spirits, data, factions. Here we go. So Maelstrom, I can pull a little bit from that, I think.
Okay.
And that's probably where I have the weakest ties, because certainly I have fairly strong ties to the orb with my parents,
Okay.
and with my father, and then yeah, and then of course the serpent is where all of my bestest friends are from. So yeah, so I'll try that. So I'll go with
Okay.
2 dice and hope I do okay.
Okay. Do you want to
Make it
push
work.
yourself?
Do I want to? Let's see here. Sure, let's do it. Why don't we just go and use up that stress that's so handy for everything.
So delicious.
I know, it really is. That costs 2, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Yep, and then that's 3 dice.
Okay.
So marking 2. Rolling with 3. It'll just be excellent. Only 2 of them rolled. Third one did not, so I will roll that. Oh, I got 2 6s, so critical success.
So I think you will realize that we talked about that priest and that whole ritual that was going on that was interrupted, and that priest was killed.
Yeah, and many of the people who understood exactly what was going on.
And I think you will realize that that priest wasn't killed. And I think that you will start pulling threads together, and there is that pull of familiarity and that flash of oracle insight as you see the first disciple from that temple, from that tower, and you see him in the robes of your priesthood.
Of my father's priesthood.
Of that, yeah.
Mhm.
And you can see that he was working from there and utilizing that. And you see that he has clearly disrupted this for a reason, and used it probably as a way of gaining some power. And he has clearly been working with Noralam. And they have been serving another. There's
Another yet?
there is someone who is commanding them. And the lines and the traces will lead back to a place, a world called the Graveyard of Angels. It is a place where there was a God's War some time ago, and a lot of gods and other things were destroyed there. Kind of a techno magic war. And you suspect this priest, who we'll call Caravel,
Mhm.
and or Noralam, are present at the graveyard. And certainly the traces suggest to you that they have taken the one who you seek with them.
So,
Willingly or unwillingly is unsure.
okay, so Dread Red Guile.
Yep. Does that sound like fair information?
It's very specific, and it sounds like I know where we will meet our doom, if we're to be doomed. I will go to tell
If you're to be
negative, though.
doomed,
I assume he'll want to know where his brother is.
we'll see. Let's take our 10-minute break here, and we'll come back at about half after. Okay. So, a lot of information found out. The question is, do we continue on with free play, or do you want to do another phase, or do you want to travel somewhere to do something?
So in the free play, what can we do and what can't we do? And what is the price of free play?
So free play is just free play.
Yay!
Okay. It is the character scenes, actions and consequences, and travel. And from there you can go to, of course, the rest phase, the scheming phase, or the operation. So like if you had like, okay, we're going to storm this castle, or we're going to pull a job on a thing, we would go to an operation phase. The only thing that has, I think, a cost is, I think the rest phase ticks a clock, and I think doing more than one scheming phase in a row ticks a clock. But we've just done scheming phase, we've done some free play with the investigation. So if you wanted to do another scheming phase, you could do that without ticking the clock.
At the least, I think we need a moment of free play to correlate
Discuss.
our information, because I do want to come back and tell Bash this information I've gotten.
Yes, so let's have that meeting, and let's start with you, Smiles, when all of you return back after some time of working, and days have passed, and people are dressed differently. We always have costume changes in this game. I imagine that everybody is changing costumes in between, and return back recovered or with the dust of travel on them. What do you tell Bash?
Yeah, I think the moment I get back, if Bash is there, I hopping off timber, I Bash, I have discovered something, and it might be a little difficult to hear.
I'm glad you say that. I have two.
Oh, good. Well, I was in search of our agent that had disappeared, who had been searching for iridescence, and it does not seem that she found iridescence or even got particularly close, and I was not able to locate her, though I have at least an idea of where she may have gone. But she did run across the trail of your sister.
Was she? Well, Morgane's still stationed at the heart of the Maelstrom.
I do not think so. I'm not sure if she was for some reason looking for iridescence or involved in some way, but she ran across her trail. And more, somewhere along the way, Morgane, they have made a woven of Morgane.
What do you mean, somewhere along the trail?
The trail split, as far as I could tell, and a woven of Morgane went to a world that I believe she was very familiar with, and I will give the name of it again, though it has escaped me. This obviously does not mean that your sister is. Yeah, she may be fine, but they have created this agent of her. Of that, I feel certain.
Even assuming that she is fine, they could wreak a lot of havoc with her face and voice. She points out, though, all that we don't understand about how any of this works.
Yes.
We'll need to track down Morgane, but I've also come to the decision of what needs to be our next step with the loom. We need to find a world to unmake.
What?
Theory will only get us so far. We need to find an actual world, set the loom on it, unmake it, and see how it works and what happens, what energies are released, how long the process takes, what's left behind. There may be
Bash!
a void left behind that's filled in with realms of possibility in the
Bash!
same crystalline shape as the world left behind.
You're talking madness. You would be doing the work of these creatures, these things. You would be destroying a world.
Well, yes and no. They're targeting important places. I think they're targeting significant places not just for their population, but for their layout in the grand scheme of things. I'm not saying that we need to go to some heavily populated world and blow it all up while cackling madly over our glowing science machine. No, we go find some barren rock place, something that life would never grow on in a billion years. We don't need any of that. We just need to see how this thing works with the substrates of reality.
What if each of these is just a further string, and as if we add to it, it will unravel the whole?
Well, infinity is infinite. I think pecking at a couple of threads isn't going to hurt it too much.
Infinity.
Besides, there's a small chance that doing so may render us temporarily as of gods.
First off, there is no such thing as infinity. Second, I am not interested in becoming a god of destruction.
Oh no, actually, it would be a more of a remaking, shaping sort of gig. But that's not really the point. It's just a potential side effect, and I can't see it lasting very long. But look, we have this thing as the best weapon so far that we've found against the sort of forces that are working behind it. But we can't just set it off randomly in somewhere important and hope that nothing goes wrong.
There's a leap of logic that you have going on here that I'm not sure I agree with. I did not realize this was a weapon we intended to use against them.
Well, how else are you planning to fight a coalition of gods and several unreal people?
I think when Negative and Sans gets here, perhaps a more general discussion of your plan will be in order, but
Yeah, I do want to take everybody's input on the target that we're choosing.
Negative will show back up, and he goes, "Oh, the day that I've had." He goes over to the gallery, pours himself at least 3 fingers of the best whiskey that we have, lays back and sips a bit, and like, I just got back from talking with my father. It seems my brother was sent on a task. He was supposed to be following your sister, Morgane.
Why is everybody following my sister? This is really getting, I don't like this.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the really strange part is the fact that he's not in contact with my father anymore. And if I know my brother, that's just completely out of character. He would keep my father abreast of every move that he made, and he hasn't seen him in quite a while. So there's definitely something going on there.
Do you know where he last was, at least?
No, I'm hoping that if we find your sister, we'll find my brother.
There may be a little of either or choicing that going on there.
I think this is a good point for us to bring Sans Echo in.
It's like I'm in very intent. I'm like, Negative. I think I know where Dread Red is, your brother, Dread Red Guile.
Sans,
So-
do you happen to have a sibling that might be out missing as well?
And she sort of stops. I don't think so. I could check with my parents.
Well,
I'm
that at
also
least
taking
narrows it down
likely
some.
I'm also taking likely candidates for an apocalypse.
Anyway, I know where everything's going down. And I do think that Dread Red Guile might be headed there or is there. Almost certain he's there. So the disciple, Caravel, he actually was posing as one of the clergy of the orb. He was the one that arranged that ritual that was supposedly destroyed. It did go off, and it did something that is sort of paving the way, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's working with Neuralum. I'm pretty sure that there's a third person who's in charge. I don't know whom exactly, but I'm almost certain they're at the grave of the angels.
See, they're not afraid to use these things.
The ritual that went off, are we talking about?
The one that was supposed to, no.
No. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the sort of inciting set of things that all happen simultaneously or virtually simultaneously. So, yes.
Neuralum, Dread Red, Morgane.
Yep.
And perhaps iridescence.
He certainly has been going and looking into things too, so he may have been pulled there as well, or a facsimile of him.
Well, Bash, perhaps that's the place you would want to destroy utterly.
I
don't
certainly,
Seems
Okay.
like it might be heavily populated, important in some way at least.
full of dead god bodies.
Destroy utterly? What are we talking about?
Bash
Oh.
wants to use the loom.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, it's less
What are
a
you
matter
going to do with using the loom?
of unweave a world into its constituent energy parts.
So just help them along with their,
Now, why do you all keep thinking this? No, this is not burning down random intersections across the Umbra. It's
that's
finding
not what
some
they're doing either, though.
dangling thread. Well, no, they're going after very important and presumably destructive ones because they seem like very bad people. While we are very nice people trying to stop very bad people with large guns that we don't understand.
Okay, so you've got a large gun is what I'm hearing, and you're advocating that we use it.
Yes. Well, that
Oh.
we test it by using it.
So, well, okay. And she sort of stops and she goes, great, we have a big gun that we know nothing about. Do you know how to reweave with it? Do you know how to restore? Have you figured that out?
No, but seeing how it actually works would get me a long way towards that.
Would it get you a long way towards that, or do you need other observers?
Well, I don't think it'll.
I mean, I know you want to be the one to flip the switch. I completely get that, but
I don't think it'll take too much convincing to talk Grey Wrapped into coming with us at this point. He's gotten a bit interested in the project too.
How well does your sister know you?
My sister?
Yes. How well does she know you?
I assume like a brother.
Maybe the loom was left on purpose. See the gun, use the gun. You might be walking into their hands.
Have we decided that?
Wait a minute, are you suggesting that my sister is a part of this?
I'm suggesting your sister, my brother, and Noralam are working together. It's perfect. Makes total sense.
or at least he's made facsimiles of the originals to use.
We do know, I do know there is a facsimile of Morgaine out there.
Yes,
And
so
there's a
obviously the
facsimile of
evil
your
copy
father
is-
as well.
Yes, I feel certain of that as well.
Do you have any sense that your father is actually alive? Or does the making of a facsimile mean that the original had to be destroyed?
My hope is that it does not mean that, but I believe, I want to think in that first session, I used the warp to try and reach out to him, and I had a feeling he was not dead. So I do not believe
That is correct.
I do not believe he is dead, or at least he wasn't dead when there was a facsimile.
All right, so the creation of a facsimile did not inherently require his death.
That is my
Excellent.
belief.
We have established something that approaches a useful truth. And there's a big gun
Really
that you have the
close.
switch for, Bash. I'm not denying that. So, and she sort of stops and says, so you want to go and find something unimportant to unweave? And
Yes.
then what?
Well, see what happens in general. In specific, see if a new world aggregates to the shape left behind by the non-existent world, to see if some strange flow or flux of energy turns us into short-time deities, and then to try and potentially figure out how to run a rug backwards through a loom to unweave it. It's not how it works, but the metaphor sort of falls apart at a certain point.
So my question to you is, why would something with divine power require something that could make an everyman a god?
These are all just theories.
Yes, they are.
The power of a god we have seen across many worlds. There are things that claim power of godhood that are not fully really godly, and I always wish more power. It would not shock me if those things wish to gain more.
Look, I trust Shiver. They went to that world that wasn't there, and it was there, recreated and wrong.
You say they saw it.
They saw it. They were there. They were in it.
But-
Umbral workings.
So you think it like reformed of its own volition, or they rewove it? Like they did with the monastery world?
It wasn't like the monastery world. That was a piece of paper meant to fall apart at the first touch. This was a real place, and someone had come in and used energy to change the nature of that world, not to find something close by that was different, but to affect change in the stable Vergence itself.
Did they change the Vergence?
They
Oh,
might
it
have
is
created a
normal
new
world.
one.
I think you talked
Sorry.
sense of a new Vergence?
They
Or-
might have created a new one.
Okay, so you don't have anything that's what happened precisely.
Just a lot of conjectures and impossible things that no one has ever seen before.
They said it was different. How?
It had been warped. The physical reality, the laws of reality there had been twisted, customized.
All right then. If we go off the assumption that they are choosing very particular places to do these actions, places of importance, we are aware of the chaos that has currently been spawned in the Maelstrom, as well as the chaos from my father's presumed involvement in that, which would involve then the serpent. And if they are going after enough important places, if they are then able to remake them, they could produce a wave effect.
Right. And she sort of steps and says, so the Grave of Angels, I'm fairly sure that's where they are. I'm pretty sure that the controlling interest in this is there. I suppose that would be where our answers are for the why and where next.
I cannot believe how much I hate to say, but Bash may have a point. If we're going to the heart of their power, we need something of a weapon.
Finally, thank you. I've been saying this for hours at this point.
But I have one question.
If it's
Do
about
we-
my sister, I may punch you.
No, it's not about your sister, and many people have, and I don't mind. But you've looked at the loom and you've tested as much of it as you can. Do you know if using it will the loom stay, or if using it just once it'll be gone and not being not in our possession anymore? Is it used up in its use? Because-
Seems like it's meant to be used again. It was very nearly done unweaving the area that we found it in, and doesn't seem to have been significantly any worse for the wearer.
Well, the only thing I'm worried about is if it, using the experiment and then we lose the power of the loom when we might need the loom later to battle them if they're using looms.
So we're going to try to unweave their loom. It's getting pretty Cantorian here at this point. So, angels for angels, gods for gods. All right.
I hate to add another variable, but I have at least the knowledge that Morgaine went to Sinashore. That is also where I believe our agent went in pursuit. Could also have something to do with iridescence and might gain us information. I understand having found where our foes may be lairing, a desire to go and confront or investigate more. But there is prudence involved in walking in there with very little knowledge at this point.
Absolutely. No knowledge except that they're there. And she sort of stops and he goes, and we have just as little knowledge about the loom and how it would interact with another loom. Particularly if that other loom or looms are handled by someone who knows how they work. So, oof. Okay, this sounds fun. So you say Seneschur is where we might find other people who've been looking into this?
It is. I would suggest we go and find out more information there. Bash, I know that you have desire to experiment, to find out more on this loom. What do we wish to do?
Do we all know Sinishur's reputation?
If not, I quickly mention.
What is its reputation?
It is a hive of scumability where we will definitely want to keep the fact that we are nobles of the powers very secret. In fact, we would probably want to keep ourselves altogether kind of under the radar.
Sounds lovely. I've never been. I always wanted to go.
The times I've been have been most unpleasant. Not very fun parties there.
But we can change that.
Under the radar, negative, my dear.
Yes, oh, I know. After all the business is done, then it's pleasure.
If they have more gain, we at least have to see where they are, what's happened, if we can get anyone out.
And it's possible that Red has gone there as well if he was in pursuit of her.
Yes, something this powerful, of course he's going to be going after it.
All right. Sign ashore, sons.
It's the place that goes that will make you ready to go to where we need to go. So yes, that's where we will go.
Let us hope it makes us prepared to go where we need to go.
Indeed.
So do we want to infiltrate?
Yeah, I suggest we go in quiet.
All right.
So let's look at how if we do kind of as an operation, how this works. That section here. Sorry, this book echoes Blades in the Dark in a particular way, which is the incomprehensible organization at times. So this feels like an infiltration. It's going to enter a protected location or an investigation in which you follow a particular trail.
Might be
I'm doing a lot of
investigation.
investigations. Infiltration sounds more active.
Okay. So in that case, then let us figure out what this is. Tell me, what do you think the preparations are that you can make to go into this place?
Well, we can reconfigure Bash's beautiful ship to be something less distinctive.
Okay, so changes to the ship. Harry, what are you bringing? What is negative bringing to the table to help make the engagement easier?
I think he's going to take the form of his brother. I'm going to look like Dread Red Guile.
Okay. Sans Echo, what about you?
Let's see here. I probably can. Oof. This is weird because it's a hive of scum and villainy, and we're like people who can walk through the Umbra and go wherever we want. What is it that stops us from just showing up there? What keeps
Nothing.
us? Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
Though you do know that given that there are people who have connections to the Vergences and things like that, that they may be able to detect that. There are magics and things like that. So that may be a little bit of that.
So, for instance, we might want to come in close to that place using the ship's higher functions, and then do that last leg far less, what should we say, nobly
Okay.
and powerfully, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Using your skills to because you
To
don't
oracle.
operate by the same principles. So
Exactly. So also, and I can, yeah, and then I also would just work out like the average of the sort of ships that are going in there, and make Bash reconfigure a ship right down the average.
sure. And Smiles, what are you bringing to bear?
I think I can get in touch with some agents or two there to lay some groundwork for our arrival.
Perfect. In that case, Smiles, roll me 3d6.
Oh, I see. I see. All right. 3d6 it is. Fives.
So the journey in is well managed, careful. You arrive, the ship black sailed, different looking. No one can tell that it is you. Disguises on, moving through, and following on the trail of your lost agent and other people here. And eventually you will get a name. And that name is Kartik Bansal. And Kartik Bansal, you know, is a fallen noble from Akorgos, burnt out of his powers in an attempted overthrow some time ago, though possesses great skills and such. And he has effectively a palace here in the heart of Sinisher. And what you have heard is that your agent traced back to here, was searching around, and picked up that Kartik Bansal had captured a set of nobles from the Vergences and was holding them prisoner. To what end? Uncertain. And before she could come back and report to you, Kartik Bansal's operatives whisked her up. And so we take up with the four of you outside of Kartik Bansal's palace in the heart of Sinishur. Bash, tell me something about this palace. What's its style? What's its architecture?
I think crystalline, like cut and faceted to catch and reflect the light. And whether it is or not, like entire towers look like they're made out of one piece that was just like carved down.
Beautiful crystalline pieces, though, because everything around here is that high of scum, villainy, and dark. All the crystal is dark, and you know, as you get up close to it, you can see that it's smudged, handprints and grime and stuff, and the smoke of the place having gotten onto it. At first, it looks like this is like it's kind of cool purple black, but then you realize that's just because it's gunk on it. Sans Echo, tell me something else about Kartik Bansal's palace.
That it was built on top of a previous building that was there, that he needed in order to have the basic amenities and stuff like that, that he just sort of built this thing on top of the foundation of, probably a former penal institute that was here.
I like that. Yeah, so there was an old kind of prison there. And Smiles, what is the sort of the most important defense that this place has?
Ooh. I think that I think he depends on actual physical people defenses. And so I think there is a whole set of, I'm imagining them very much like the Wicked Witch of the West, sort of, I think we see a bunch of like liveried and armed guards that walk the perimeter, walk the battlement sort of feel.
Absolutely. And Negative, how have the four of you gotten past sort of the first layer of defenses?
Well, we knew the information about the nobles being kidnapped. So, I think I would use my shape-shifting ability to take the form of one of the guards that's in a fancier uniform than the rest, and use that to bluff our way in.
So you've gotten past that sort of first outer set of defenses into the interior of this crystalline palace. And I think you're in there. And now here's where the engagement roll is set. We are in a risky position. You've made your way in. You will realize that whoever this Kartik Bansal is, he has access to a number of different kinds of magics and wardings and things like that. There are a lot of crypto keyed doors and things like that, that sort of adapted technology made into magic, things like that. So for Sherry, for Patrick, think cryptomancer kind of style securities and things like that. And when we take up, you've hit one of these doors that leads from sort of the outer ring that you've gotten through to a door that has a kind of a warding lock on it, and clearly some variable like mental key code thing. So how how do the four of you want to approach this?
Well, you always approach the locked door that you don't have the key card for, which is you make it whomever's supposed to have the thing be far too busy and in a situation where they need the assistance of someone who has it. So we'll be scouting for someone who's going doop doop doo down the hall with the antenna going through, and make it look like Negative's character needs some help getting through the door because his unruly prisoners are being unruly.
So the he has Bash and Smile as prisoners, or just as other guards. How do you think you're
I
playing
don't
that?
know. How do you guys think it? I mean, I can be unruly with the best of them. I'm incredibly good at everything I try to do. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could be standing at the locked door and patting myself all over, going, "Damn it, I forgot my key." And then I start looking for somebody in a what you call it a lower ranked uniform. I hope. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm in guard uniform rather than prisoner. It's a little
Okay.
easier to carry around my weapon that way.
All right. And Bash?
I'm happy to be a prisoner.
Okay. So Sans, Bash, you two are prisoners.
yes, exquisitely fine and furious
All right.
prisoners.
So it feels to me like Negative, you're trying to convince, correct?
Mhm.
So that feels like maybe one of the like engineer or contrive or persuade.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be persuade again. I mean, I'm engineer. I mean, that would be actually building something, I think, or
It's also for planning things.
oh, okay. So yeah, I'll try and engineer a setup so that we can get access to one of the keys from somebody who has one that's walking by.
Sure.
And I say, quickly, I must get these what you call prisoners to Kardik Van Sal's attention. Please give me your key.
So you're hoping that this will overcome their security discipline in this.
And I will assist by being like helping make sure that it looks like he's very overwhelmed.
Are you
So-
marking a bond or are you spending?
Assist. I'm doing an assist.
Okay. So go ahead and spend that. So that'll be 2 dice for you, Negative, unless you want to push yourself as well.
What would a devil's bargain look like here?
A devil's bargain here is certainly that this is an unusual process and they have procedures, and this will get reported back, and we're going to raise the general alarm awareness level clock.
Mm,
All right, then okay, then I'll just stick with 2 dice and try for it. Let's see here.
Okay.
It'll be the first 2 green ones. A 4 partial.
So I think that he will let you through, but he's going to call for some people to escort, like 2 people with 2 prisoners. That's far too small a number, and he will call for assistance. Is that a consequence you want to resist?
Yes, I am going to resist it, and it's going to be along the lines of, "Oh no, the prisoner just escaped," and hopefully Bash or Echo will knock him off, knock him in the back of the head, and knock him out. Let's see here, and
So this feels like Will.
well, okay, so that's 2 for me. Anyway, this will be the second 2 green dice, and of mine. 5, so I think that's 2 stress.
2 stress. So before this guy can, he lets you through, and before he can go and get additional people to back up the guard transit, you can KO him and drop him in a corner, and you'll find yourself in then the major part of this house. You could like infiltrate the servants area. You could try and find your way down to like the more secure lockup areas. You could move up into what you guess would be the upper chambers, where Bonsall probably has his quarters and things like that. What's the next step for your mission here?
The detention center. That's my boat.
Yeah, I mean they're either being held in rooms or this place has some sort of dungeon type area, and if it has a dedicated dungeon, that's usually down.
So this now, this is the sort of the challenge here is finding your way through to this sort of more hidden places without drawing attention to you. So who wants to kind of take the lead on that step here?
Someone with a good traverse.
I could try that. Bash, I think you're also quite good at it.
Yeah, if you got an idea, go for it.
All right. I think I kind of give the let me take a bit of point here, and let's see if we can make our way down lower, and kind of progressing a little before in my uniform, preparing, kind of going off the idea that I'm alerting anyone ahead that we're bringing prisoners down, but more I'm trying to get to where I could, if we're going to encounter someone, be there with them when the others come down, so I could strike if I need to right amongst them.
Yeah. So right now the challenge is finding your way, and certainly what's at risk here is getting spotted and alerting folks and raising the general alert level. So let's you want to roll out with Traverse to do this as
Sure.
quietly, gently as possible.
I'm guessing that my hunter won't work in this.
Actually, I think it will. You're trying to follow a
Okay.
trail. You're trying to find your way to someplace.
All right. Excellent then. All right, unless anybody's helping.
Anybody want to spend a
I'll throw an assist in there.
Okay.
I'll play act with him just to make sure it gets across.
Let's
Right.
have you make that roll for me,
That's
Smiles.
4 dice.
There's almost no chance that you could fail.
Darn you, Lowell. Oh, well, it was darn close. I got a 4.
So this is risky. You're in the
Mhm.
heart of this place. So I think that you're moving through here. You pop in a couple of places where people are like, who the fuck is that? And then move on. So I think the consequence here is going to be raising the alert level.
Okay.
Do you want to resist that?
It's early. Yeah, I better try and resist that.
Okay. Then roll me 2 dice.
Yep. So, roll well. A 4 again. So
Okay.
2 stress.
2 stress.
Oof.
I think you will get to the part where there are some magical, how do I put this, means of transit, shafts that drop down, moving, sliding things, stuff that require particular keys to get through, that present a kind of a physical obstacle once you've kind of reached these down under layers. How do you want to get past those? We haven't heard from Sans. We haven't heard from Bash. Do either of you want to take point on this challenge?
I'm good at social stuff. I would solve it with that. But if Bash wanna try another version of Traverse, whatever.
Or technically,
Can I do a flashback?
Absolutely.
So I think this is a flashback to like as we're taking our nondescript land transport, whatever the tech level is here, into the city because we left the ship a couple Vergences or a couple worlds back. Bash is sitting there very still in the midst of everyone else as his eyes start to glow with that like yellow white lightning light, and there's just this like sound in the trees around of this wind whipping up, and he slowly puts out one hand palm up as like the very first drop falls into it, and then when we come back to the present, there's just this like roar of thunder. There's no cost but time on the storm.
Mhm.
There's gonna be cost on the flashback.
I don't think so. Tell me what this is, how this is assisting you in like moving through these shafts and chambers and things in this dungeon.
I think as like 3 bolts of lightning, one after another, strike the sides of this crystal tower, electricity and energy start to like arc down the walls, run through the systems and the security measures that are keeping things locked, and like doors start going haywire, opening, closing, things start running or breaking down on their own.
So that feels like warp to me.
Okay.
Does that seem right to you?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I dig
that's
it.
it's you using your magic, so the talents that you have.
Yeah, so it's sort of like taking the storm I've primed and calling some help from it out at just at the right time.
Absolutely.
I will use my assist to as you're doing this, give you another dive as I kind of pull into the Umbra and kind of reinforce the electricity as it's moving through, kind of make these circuits all the right area to be hit.
Perfect. Well, Bash, let's have you roll.
What would a devil's bargain look like on this? This is a big dramatic moment.
I think a devil's bargain is you'll injure one of the prisoners.
Like one of the people that we're trying to find.
Yep.
And that's not kill, right?
That's injure with lightning that you're calling down from the sky.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Makes things dramatic, interesting. Might give us a timer on the way out.
Absolutely.
All right. It's going to be all 4 of the reds. Close, but that's a 6.
6. So I imagine we you know, the timing of these weird magical elevators, you're catching those. It's very much Ocean's 11, like doorway opens up, going through those, moving down, and you will get down below, and essentially there's one last supervisor guard person sort of outside of this area who you have to get through. Sans, this is clearly a persuade.
Yep. And I do think that, you know, essentially we have all prepared for this. So we do have by this time, we've gone through enough closets to find uniforms that seem to be for staff.
Okay.
And essentially, we'll have picked up a few things, and we come up and we're like, we got sent down to make sure that all the security measures are put back in order.
Says that's the systems are weird across the board, and I heard someone got hurt inside.
Okay, we're going in. And I may say,
Roll-
I'm like,
roll
okay.
persuade.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm gonna do that. Oh, shoot, I did that again. Sorry, I just rolled 2 when I was supposed to roll 3. A 6.
6, and he gestures past you, and you four will head into these chambers. You can see the cells that are there, metal bars and things like that. And you will see that there is one of these guards, and they are bent over someone laying in the hallway. And you see them checking this person. And as you come up, you will see that it is Porphyris, the missing prince. A friend to you, Smiles, and a friend to you, Echo. And he's been struck by lightning and he is unconscious. He's out in the hallway. This guard is looks up at you and he goes, "Are any of you a medic?" He was struck by some flashback that came off of the bars.
Are any of us a medic? I mean, I'll say I've got basic training. I'll say, clear away. So make sure it gets wet.
And he'll stand up, and let you through. And he goes, I have to go and tell Lord Bonsall, this guest, one of his guests was injured, and he starts to move to clearly go to where the guard is at.
Hand drops on a shoulder on one side. I'm guessing a hand drops on a shoulder from the other side for Smiles.
Let's have you roll to do this quietly.
You want to roll that, or you want me to take lead on that?
This is controlled, but standard effect, I'm going to say here.
I think control is standard for pretty good ability. Could we make it maybe a traverse roll, and that we're moving fast to just grab them and get them out of the
speed,
way?
quality of attack.
Sneak, yeah.
So that'll put me at 2. And
I can give you an assist.
okay. Yeah,
I
that'll
would be
work.
at pretty much the same. I
3d6.
would get to use my blood lance, but I don't think that would help over much. So yeah, there you go.
All right. So 3 of them. First 3 on the green. Okay. I think I did it wrong. Okay, there we go. 4 is partial.
So I think with that, let's see what's a good consequence. I think he is going to give a shout and probably draw another person there, unless you want to resist that. It's not like raising the full hue and cry, but he is going to draw a couple of other guards here.
I'm actually going to turn to Smiles and goes, "Oh, I think your blood lance is usable now." I'll take the consequence so he gets a chance to.
Okay. Smiles, you hear guards coming, and I assume you'll move yourself into position to take care of that threat.
Yeah.
Sans, Bash, you will see Porphyris. You'll look. You can see that there are prisoners in the cells, and you will see in one of them, in these like simple like prisoner clothing, is Dread Red Guile, and you'll see Iridescence Joy, again in simple prison garb over there. You will know that Porphyris is actually dressed nicely.
Really?
Yes. What do
So
you
he is a guest then. So I have that whole like I'm always aware of my environment. I can tell when someone is telling the truth. I can detect whether they're in their true form, and I can reach out with my mind to study the world and think, but I want to know about the nature of his injuries and if he is really porthos.
Yes, you will check him out. His injuries are minor. He is shocked and burnt by the lightning. He'll be out for a while, but he definitely is Porhyrus.
Okay, Boheris. And
Bash, what are you doing?
I think if Sons is checking him over, then I'm going to the cells, probably Iridescent Joy first, since I know him, I'm friends with him. To see what I can do about the locking mechanism.
Bash, get me out of here.
It's what we're here for. The storm, well, it'll be here for a while. It should cover us getting out of here, but we need to hurry.
And I don't think, I mean, you have time, it's controlled here. We'll come back to Smiles dealing with the guards, but I don't think it's going to be any work for you to get this lock open.
Are you injured? Have they done anything to you?
Open that up. He'll come out and go, no, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here soon, quickly.
Help me with this door.
And he'll move to assist you. Smiles. That shout comes and you'll see a couple of the guards from the other sort of halls come running this way. And they see that something's going on and they move with that like they're not going to ask questions. They're just going to start like taking batons around.
As the shout came up and I realized people were coming, I had pulled out my lance, my baton, and I had thrown it quickly just to stick into the ceiling at the hallway coming in.
Okay.
And so as they're running, and I've got the guard uniform, quick, get here. And I'm motioning over to bring them closer in. We have an escape coming in. Quick, help me. To lure them a bit closer.
Okay.
And as they pass where my lance is, I turn, reach up, and my lance comes flying back, twirling around to bash into the two of them as they move forward.
So what does that feel like? Engage?
We're
using something else.
I think that's probably engage.
Okay.
But I'm hoping I'm setting up an ambush.
Oh yeah. That feels good. Yeah, give yourself the extra die for that.
Okay. Anybody feel like a helping? No.
I'll spend a stress to help you out.
Thank you. All right, come on, baby. I got a 6.
Got a 6. So yeah, you are up and you are on them and you will drop them. Come down and they are out. Let's come back to negative. Dread Red Guile is still in his cell.
I just whistle as I walk over to stand in front of him in the cell, and I'm actually looking him up and down to see if he's injured or anything like that.
No, he looks a little humiliated, brother.
Oh, brother. Imagine that. Father sent me to get you. So, who caught you?
You'll have plenty of time for your jeering and humiliating of me. Just get me out of here.
Yes. Of course, I will get you out of here. There is just a matter of one little cost.
Yes.
I changed shape into the person that I slept with in the very beginning of the first session. So
yeah.
And say, all I want is a kiss. It's your choice.
This is creepy on more levels than I can even begin to say.
Yes, it's hilarious. And it's going to make for a great story for years to come.
All right, he says, pucker up.
Okay. Does he do it?
Yeah, he will.
When he does that, I bite his lip when he does it so that I draw blood.
Absolutely.
And I taste it a little bit and like, yes, that'll do finally.
Can I please have you make a resistance roll for me here
Sure. Okay.
with prowess?
Prowess. Okay, that'll be 3 dice base for me. All right. I think I'll just go with that. Of course, every time I do that, I always fail. Let's see here. 6, 4, 2. So I'm good.
You kind of
It's-
and actually kind of spit that blood out because there is something wrong with it.
Oh, these guys aren't real. This is not my brother. There's something wrong with them.
Sans, what do you do? And then we'll come to Bash. You are muted if you're saying something, Sans.
I'm not. I know that poor Heroes is the right person though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And I will turn and look at the guys, like his brother and Iridescence.
You see, Iridescence is kind of now moving to get Bash between him and the others.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so it's not him. Is it Iridescence? It's not Iridescence, is it?
It looks like him, but you will get that smell of the woven
And I'm
off
like,
of him.
I'm like, Bash, that's not Joy. And stand up, I think, at this point.
Stand up,
So-
get Porphyris back a little to safety.
Exactly. Yep.
There's that shout, Bash, and you can feel that presence behind you as this figure moves up on you.
That doesn't sound good.
What do you want to do?
I want to try and capture him alive because
Absolutely.
we've only just had these things unravel in our hands, and I'm thinking if we could get him back to the loom, we might could learn more.
Absolutely. Let's what do you feel like that is? Is that warp? You're trying to use your magic to do this?
Yeah.
Or something else? I'm just spitballing here.
No, I like the idea of warp trying to like undo whatever thing is going to start unraveling and like using energy to stabilize him where he might try and go unstable and unravel like all the others.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I think how he does it is Bash reaches into an inside pocket and pulls out a small like spray paint can and turns and starts quickly trying to spray a couple of the sigils that he's learned from the inner workings of the loom onto him in an attempt to like trap his energy flow within his body and keep everything stable.
Perfect. Let's have you roll. Are you spending anything? I mean, you're fine on stress. A
Yeah,
shocking turn of events.
It's very strange. I don't understand it. Yeah, I will push myself.
So that's
and,
3
and
dice.
I'll assist.
Okay, 4
Yeah.
dice.
Yeah.
Nice. Come on, stupid dice, select before Lowell says something.
Now I'm hoping that.
Damn it! That is a 4 surrounded by 3 1s, trying very hard to eat it.
So I think
Good thing I helped.
Yeah.
I think you can stop him, but I think the consequence is the one that you're worried about is him de-weaving. Do you want to resist that?
Yeah, I want to keep him solid.
Okay. That feels like that willpower.
Yeah. Can't spend
Uh,
anything on resistance, can you?
No. No, that's more of a color effect, Harry.
Oh, I got a 6.
Okay. So you will only spend one stress, and you will have him locked down, get that sigil across him. Sans, you've got Porphyris grabbed. Negative, you've got a hold of this fake version of Dread Red Guile. And Smiles, you will hear, sort of as you kind of turn to check on them, you will hear a figure at the end of the hall, and they will say, we should all have a little conversation about things which may not be as they appear. And kind of out of the corner of your eye, Smiles, you look back, and you will see it is Curling Tourmaline.
Really, really? Curling tourmaline? I'm like,
Son,
I'm not getting, I imagine I'm not getting a whiff, am I? I don't know
No.
if it's him. I feel like it is him.
and Sans, you know, can read that.
yeah, is it him?
Yes.
Yeah, she goes, it's him. Thumbs up, Smiles.
I will kind of pull my lance down into a guard position and say, Father, what have you done?
He says, that's a little rude. What I have done is capture some of these woven that have duplicated people that we know. And I have been trying to figure out how and why they are operating.
That part we know.
I'll look at Sans to see. Sans generally can read people pretty well, and I've never been able to read my father very well.
And I think Sans is already like, she's like, here, help me get Porphyris up.
He'll turn and he says, Master Rassius Bash, correct?
Yes.
I don't believe we've had the pleasure before.
Bash will stand from where, like, while this conversation's been going on, he brought fake iridescence over to where Porphyris was laying. He's been just holding his hands over each of their chests with like yellow light pulsing down his veins. And as he stands up to hold his hand out to shake Curling Tourmaline's hands, the two unconscious bodies just sort of bob up to about waist height like balloons just floating there in the air.
That's disturbing.
Makes them a lot easier to carry.
True. Smiles, we have much to discuss, and much to discuss with your companions.
Where is iridescence?
That I do not know. But your agent is upstairs, safe. And he'll turn to Bash and he says, as is your sister. I was able to rescue Morgaine from the prison that they had her in. But
Which one? As I hear, I have several sisters running around right now.
whatever sister you've spoken to in the last several weeks is not your sister, but one of these woven.
Weeks?
Yes. They've been replacing people for some time. And many of them do not know that they have been replaced. Many of them do not know that they are changed. But come, let us go upstairs and we will speak of these things, and you can tell me what has gone on. I have been a little out of the loop for the past little while, as you can imagine.
I want to try something
Sure.
because I'm not happy with how he's handled this, and more importantly,
You mean the spy master? You're not happy with how the spy master has handled this?
I don't like how he's kept me out of the loop on this.
Oh yeah.
And I'm worried about my brother, so I'm going to kind of turn to where Bash has floating faux iridescence and reach out my hand and just put it right on his face. Where is my brother? And I am going to try and trace through the warp if I can feel iridescence, if I can at least know he's safe, or if I can feel where he is.
I will tell the roll on that next time, but I think you can feel that there is a connection, that there is a link there, and you can tell that your brother is alive. Does that seem fair?
Yep.
And I think that's where we're going to stop for tonight. So I'm counting one major milestone and let's say 3 minor milestones. So essentially you have back up to 3 upgrades in your quiver. Does that seem fair?
Did we held on to 1 from last time? Is that right? We didn't spend
Yeah,
it?
you had 1 upgrade left, so go back up to 3.
Back up to 3. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
you'll still have 2 minor milestones on the table.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Do you mind doing a quick stars and wishes? Yes, Sherry, you had a finger up. Oh, thumb up. Okay. So it got a lot of information. We moved some plots forward tonight. A lot of things. We've brought your father back onto the table, Smiles. We've brought some of the bad guys out into the open, and we've got that on the table. Harry,
Can I ask for
yes.
3 minutes before we go into it?
Absolutely. Let's take 3, and then we'll come back and do a quick stars wishes.
Thank you much.
All right. Harry, I'm going to start with you. Stars, wishes, stars, particular things you dug, wishes, things you definitely want to see next time. And then we've got 2 more sessions left. So what do you think?
Yeah, stars all around. Sherry, I love the philosophy of mathematics. That was perfect. Patrick and Tyler, your interaction when on the ship coming back and speaking about what was happening, that was a really awesome scene. And Tyler, the hell ride that you did was really cool. Brings back some memories because I'm listening to the Books of Amber, so it's awesome. And Lowell, yeah, it's awesome running. I really like the direction the story is going, and we still don't even know what the exact thing is yet, but it's looking very, very, very awesome so far.
Awesome.
For wishes, I just want to see where the story ends, what's actually going on.
Excellent. And Patrick.
See, Sherry, I really like this feeling that I'm getting from Sans of, like, how to describe it, of just obstinate refusal to be changed in any significant way by things going on around her. Like, you know, part of it is that choice of that slain move where it's like, well, she's been killed, but that really just held her back for a couple hours. But I think also in your, like, how you're not healing that wound and how you're so just nonchalantly showing this like horrible gap through your being, this unweaving that's taking place on you. You're just like, yeah, see, this is what it looks like right here. See, you can poke right into it. Look, I'm poking it. I really like that aspect of Sans, and it just sort of clicked for me this time. Um, I really enjoyed the overall complicated, not messiness of the story. I appreciate, Lowell, that you've thrown several of the important and more mysterious NPCs together in a knot so that we can interact with some of them. And I don't know why it was such a like delightful surprise when the Lost Prince showed up, since we'd barely talked about him even in world creation, even though we'd like connected a lot of people to him. But just that moment of like, it's Porhyrus, and I'm like, who's Porhyrus? Oh my gosh, it's Porhyrus! This character I've never met and don't really care about, but oh my gosh!
I like the idea now that Porhyrus is the Lost Prince because bad things happen to him and he gets trapped places. He gets knocked out by random lightning and shit.
Which is I really want to unweave a world.
Okay.
Just it's the best bad idea I've had in a while, and I managed to tentatively talk at least half the group into it. So let's do it now before you think twice.
Yeah, I think the one who's in control on that planet is actually the first facsimile of you, Bash, from when you were imprisoned by the god.
Ooh. Interesting. Tyler.
Huge stars. I liked seeing people show up, and then they're not the people we thought show up. I thought that was a lot of fun. Lovely to see Dad again. I am looking forward to having the chance to discuss this. I think it's interesting that our dear friend the Prince was still down here with the facsimiles. That's an interesting weirdness to that. Why did Dad have him? All of the lots of weird intricacies you layered into this, Lone. I thought that was really, really cool. Harry, I love that Negative is so fucking weird. The kiss thing was strange. The partying, his going off and doing our free action look into stuff. All of it just so interesting, such a neat character, and I am just so enjoying what you're doing with him. He's just so interesting. Sherry, I will echo. I love the certainty of Sans. It's very much that sort of Pythia, or the Cassandra, this idea of I know and people just aren't listening sort of thing. And I love it. It's very cool. It's a very interesting character, and you're playing the hell out of it. Patrick, you were all over it tonight. Lots of cool ideas, lots of interesting things. The unweaving of a world really surprised me. There was a whole bunch in there that was just super cool, solid role play. Wishes. I want to find iridescence. And I kind of want to see that reunion of all of us with our Prince friend. I'd like to see, since we're finally getting him into play, what he means to several of us who he's, a very close, dear friend. So I want to hit a little fields on finding him.
Perfect. Sherry?
I love the characters in this game, the NPCs, because yes, we love them for no reason other than that they're friends to all of us. So we're like, oh yay. But the other thing is that all of you have made these characters that are so very, like your character, Harry Negative is so, he seems like he's not doing anything. He's so indolent and he's so self-indulgent, and yet he's still coming back with great information and getting things done in his own inimitable way and at his own crazy pace. And it's just wondrous to watch. And Bash is, yep, he's just sticking his finger in it to see what happens. And, you know, and I mean, it's just like everyone is who they are. And Tyler Smiles is like, he's got a plan. He's going to do a thing. He's going to, he's like, he has a booklet on how it's done, you know, and I love it. It's all of us. And yes, I do kind of try to play her as she knows what's going to happen in that sense. And she has the absolute certainty that everything that happens is what was meant to be. So anyway, she's kind of scary in that way. And Lowell, you've done a great job of building all of this and making it circle around and bringing it together. So yes, a good scene with Porphyrius will be awesome. And also, you know, curling tourmaline. So it will be good, at least to get a few of the characters from our backstory, a nice conversation. And yes, I went to rescue Iridescence Joy.
And more game potentially on the table. So we've got some NPC interactions to start out with next time.
Is she on my sheet, or is it going to be a new person I'm meeting?
I don't
Oh
think
no,
she's-
Morgaine. We'll see.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording.